Welcome to Thriving at the Beach podcast. I'm Peggy Masterson, and I'm delighted to be your host. I am the director of the Partnership Grand Strand Foundation, and in case you haven't heard about us, we are the nonprofit foundation that is an extension of the Myrtle Beach Area Chamber of Commerce. Partnership Grand Strand was created by local businesses to serve local businesses, and we serve everyone across all 14 communities that we often and fondly call the Grand Strand. Our work puts us in a unique situation where we get the opportunity to collaborate and support many of the organizations that are busy building a better tomorrow in our area. This gives us a wonderful opportunity to collect the details surrounding these growth initiatives and then share them with you. That's really why we created this podcast. There's so much amazing work, we just had to find a way to get it out to you. I could not be more excited to be able to facilitate a way for our guests to tell you their stories, to share the initiatives that they're working on, and give you a peek under the tent on what's coming to our community. I hope you'll catch this wave of momentum and then share it with others. So let's dive right in. Well, welcome everybody to our latest episode of Thriving at the Beach, where, as you know, our primary goal is to give you an opportunity to meet some of the people that are busy working behind the scenes in our community to drive our long-term prosperity. So today's podcast is all about housing and workforce. And we all know we can't have a prospering community over the long haul if we don't have solutions for attainable housing. Our guest today is Meagan Michal. She is the executive director of the Horry County Habitat for Humanity organization. So as we get to know Meagan, I want to share a couple things about her that you may not know. She grew up in Pennsylvania on a small farm. Her grandparents owned a construction company, and she was destined to be involved in construction of some kind from an early age, as early as 4 years old. So we have Grandma and Grandpa to thank for that, right,
Yeah,
Meagan?
that's right.
She is also a Coastal Carolina grad. She has a bachelor's in marketing and went on to get her master's in international trade at ESC, which I'm not familiar with, but it is in Paris. So we'll ask more and learn more about that in a minute. She joined Habitat for Humanity 4 years ago, and her first project was to create the Neighborhood Revitalization Initiative. Prior to that, she worked with a company called Tech Talent and Strategy, and she specialized in developing alternative pipelines to develop and achieve tech talent. So again, as I think back on your background here, you were destined to be in the role you're in because you have workforce background through Tech Talent and Strategy, and then you have the construction piece through Grandma and Grandpa, and obviously have all the other tools that we need to continue to drive the things that Habitat for Humanity is focused on. So, Meagan, thank you so much for being here today. We appreciate
Yeah, thanks
it.
for having me.
Absolutely. So as we kind of get started, I thought we would go back to square one and kind of have you, if you would, tell us a little bit about the Habitat for Humanity organization, the kind of things you do, and anything else you want to share.
Yeah, so at Habitat for Humanity of Horry County, our mission is to put God's love into action by bringing people together to build homes, communities, and hope. And we were really founded on this idea that really great things can come from the community coming together across our differences and all contributing to a common goal, to serve a neighbor. And we do that by what we call giving a hand up and not a handout, which means we serve our local Horry County workforce who can't attain housing on the open market, and we partner with them. They build houses alongside us and alongside the community of volunteers that help build our homes. And they go through a really robust financial literacy program where they're learning what it means to have a home as an asset and to build wealth for their family and to make a budget and all that good stuff. And so that's really the core that Habitat was founded on. And if you really think about your memories, if you're someone who grew up with stable housing, those core memories in your life, your happiest memories, probably at least one of them happened in your home. And so when you think
Sure.
about the benefits of having stable housing, kids excel better in academics when they've got a bedroom of their own to do their homework in. Parents who are not worried about where they're going to live next year or what school district they're going to have to move their kids to, and bounce around to different football teams and that kind of thing, parents can then refocus their energy on moving up at work or going back to school online. We see a lot of both workforce and school and education system benefits to having stable, affordable housing. Families are investing in their kids in different ways when they're not cost burdened by home. And so all of these things play a role into how our Horry County community thrives. And home really is the starting place of a lot of that.
That's a wonderful description. I mean, I guess it's easy to overlook the things that you just mentioned about how home is kind of the heart of the family, right? And all of the extenuating benefits from having that stable housing. I hadn't really thought about it that way, but it all comes together and makes great sense.
Yeah, even health. If you don't have a healthy home, you'll find yourself having to go to the doctor or having health emergencies more often. And so all of these things, if you're an employer and you think about your workforce and the things that you worry about for them, you're more likely to have a workforce that sticks if you've got a workforce that has a decent mix of homeowners in it because they're invested in their place, they've got a place that's healthy, and they're looking at how they're going to put down roots and make more of an impact where they are.
Wow, I love that. What a far-reaching mission, really. I mean, it's much broader than a lot of people, I think, naturally go to that notion of, oh, Habitat builds homes, right? But really, the way you've so eloquently described it, you're really building a foundation of a community and all the things that need to go with that. So as a expert or someone that's kind of focused in this area of attainable housing in our market, I was wondering if you could tell us a little bit about how would you describe our situation currently in Horry County and what do you see as opportunities?
Yeah. Our situation in Horry County is very much reflective of the issues that we see nationally. So we're not alone when we're not unique. But the challenge really is that our interest rate environment, our home price environment on the coast here, it really makes housing inaccessible for a lot of families who are a part of our permanent workforce. Exacerbated by that is the cost of insurance, and especially us being on the coast, but really this affects everybody across the nation. The rise in the cost of insurance is pricing people out of ownership of their homes. And so we try to influence all of that. We advocate on a state and on a national level to not only affect the production of housing as well as the preservation of housing, the housing that's affordable now that may not be affordable next year. And so we focus on all of those things. One of the issues that we have with housing affordability is a supply issue. We are simply not building homes at the rate that we used to build them. And we've seen a lot of home building happen in Horry County. And so we've been fortunate in that we're starting to see the rental market is starting to even back out, where rent prices are more commensurate with incomes now, where last year they were not. And that is thanks to the production of housing in Horry County, and the supply increase has helped kind of flatten those tensions in the rental market. It hasn't affected the homeownership market in the same way, but we are making strides to really impact that. One of the ways we're doing that is Habitat themselves. We've set a goal, a very aggressive goal, to double our production in the next 5 years. We've gone through a big land acquisition. We're going to be building at least 52 new homes, and those are going to be some subdivisions and then some infill across the county. And our goal with this acquisition really was to serve the entire geography of the county. And so we're going to be a lot more spread out. And it's going to be a new challenge for our organization to take on this big goal. We're going to be looking to the community to step up to the challenge as well. So we're not only raising money, but we're garnering more support from our business community to come out and volunteer and make it all happen. I really do think Horry County's ready for this. And so, we're making that happen now as we speak. So it's very exciting.
Yeah, that's super exciting. And to be so broad reaching, in other words, the fact that you're going to be, folks may think of the Habitat just working on the downtown area, but you're really spread out across the whole community. Tell me a little bit about this land trust. I don't really understand them. And you mentioned that you had acquired some land. Is that a land trust or is that something different?
That is not. So we went through a land acquisition. We were funded by, this acquisition was funded by the American Rescue Plan, which we were very fortunate to receive some of that funding in collaboration with Horry County. And so we've been able to acquire land that Habitat's going to produce our traditional housing on. But we realized too that we serve up to a certain income limit, and there is still a part of our community that can't access the market that makes an income that's higher than what Habitat traditionally serves. And so what the land trust does is it fills that gap. So the land trust is a separate entity. It's not Habitat. Habitat has really played a key role in creating this entity. But it is business leaders and public sector and our workforce representation from across the county have come together to create this new nonprofit that is going to preserve land for affordability in perpetuity. So it really protects the land and the housing on that land to be accessible to families in that 80 to 120% AMI, which is higher earning than what Habitat traditionally serves, but still can't access the homeownership market right now. They're really going to be served through the land trust. And in collaboration, you've heard me talk about we need the supply of housing is one of the things that we really need. The way we make that happen is through collaborations like this, where Habitat's serving our folks that up to a certain income limit. We've got the trust that's bridging the gap, and then we're going to be bringing the private sector in, traditional home builders and housing producers that are not Habitat that will be able to produce land on this trust property. And then what we do is we through the land lease on the trust, we actually limit the resale on that. So families who are a part of the trust, they gain equity, but they gain equity at the rate of wages, which is different than the traditional housing market, right? So let's say a teacher buys a home on the land trust. 10 years later, they want to sell. Well, that home has increased in value through the resale agreement at the same rate as their wages has increased. And so in theory, a teacher who bought a house and then sells it 10 years later can sell it to another teacher who is in that same position when they first bought that house 10 years ago. And so by doing that, it preserves affordability. It's a formula that, once you get comfortable with it, it's pretty easy to understand. But essentially, we're putting houses on the wage market rather than the real estate market. So it protects that affordability.
Wow, that's really brilliant, honestly. And I love the fact that it's got such a long-term reach. It's perpetuity. I thank you for explaining that because I've been a little bit confused, honestly, and I'm sure that it may only be me, but I thought it would be helpful to kind of differentiate the two. So if I'm listening to this podcast and I am an individual that wants to help in this community, what would you recommend they do? Like, if they want to get involved in the initiatives that you're doing, is that something that anyone can kind of step up to the plate and help with?
Absolutely. That's well, the beautiful thing about Habitat is that we're built on bringing people together. And so no matter who you are, you can get involved in some way. We've got, so at habitatorry.org is where you can go and look for ways to volunteer, ways to give, ways to shop at our Restore, which is the retail operation we run to help fund the mission, ways to donate your old couch when you buy a new one, that kind of thing. All of these things are ways for folks to get involved that can help the mission of Habitat. And then a way to get involved to serve potential home buyers of the future would be if you're an employer or you work at a place that employs a lot of people, you can advocate for Habitat to share about their program in your place of work. We only serve the workforce of Horry County, and so the best place for us to go is to major employers to talk about our program, so that anyone who might qualify, who might be interested, has the opportunity to learn how to get their application ready. We're serving folks in Burgess and Socastee and Loris and Conway. We're really all over the place, and so we've got opportunities for folks really regardless of where you work in Horry County or where you currently live. As long as you're an Horry County resident and you qualify by our our minor or our qualifications of income and a need for affordable housing, then you can become a qualified applicant. And so that's one way to get involved, is to really share about our program. And then for folks who are able and interested in giving, we are going through a really significant raise right now to put all the pipes in the ground and the roads in the ground in our new subdivisions. It's going to cost us $1.9 million to build the roads and the sidewalks and get those neighborhoods vertical ready, is what we call it. So before you even see a foundation or a frame go up, that's the kind of investment we need to make into small subdivisions to make them doable. So in order to build these 52 new homes, we got to find the $1.9 million to get those neighborhoods ready. And so this is why housing affordability is a challenge, because for organizations like Habitat or any organization or any company that's building housing, the cost to build is continuing to be a challenge.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's hard to make an affordable product if it's not affordable to build. And that's why we're raising money.
Yep, makes perfect sense. And I think the description that you just gave about how much goes into the infrastructure, if you will, before you see that slab or any other action actually taking place, is significant, and it's often overlooked. These developers that are coming and they're paying more for that kind of thing. They're paying more for the raw materials. It only makes sense that we have to step up as a community and help solve the workforce affordable and attainable, if you will, housing. So all you folks that are listening, I hope that you'll will be sure to attach your website to the show notes. And there isn't any reason not to get involved and to support what you're up to, Meagan. So we appreciate your leadership in this space for sure.
Thank you. And getting involved is a lot of fun, too. I wouldn't underplay that. Folks always have a good time with us.
Awesome. Yeah, I mean, I've heard of a few companies that kind of get together as a core team and go out and help build something. I can only imagine what that would be like. I mean, don't put any power tools in my hands, but as long as somebody's there to teach me how to do it safely, I'm sure it would be a lot of fun.
Yes, that's right. There's a lot of people on our job sites who hold a power tool for the first time.
Well, awesome. Well, I know when we first spoke about the podcast here, we talked about the initiatives that you're sharing, that you're currently working on. And you already mentioned that you've got the 3 new neighborhoods rolling, and that's a not private, but that's a Habitat kind of project, a standalone Habitat project with community partners. And then you were influencing the work that was done around the land trust, and you've explained that to us. Tell us a little bit, if you would, about your financial literacy program?
Yeah, so we are fortunate to partner with a lot of really great banks in this community, and we offer the curriculum that we offer is called FDIC Money Smart. It's a really common curriculum, and what we teach in that program is we take people from where they are, so we meet them where they're at, and that might be that they don't have credit or they need to improve their credit score. Maybe they've got some money in collections or some consumer debt that they need to work on. Or maybe they have a good credit score and have, they don't have any debt, but they're not saving for the future. These are things that we teach, and we, walk alongside families who are really working on dedicating themselves to a financial transformation. And the beautiful thing about that is that so many families come to us having not had a homeowner in their family before and having never learned what it means to steward an asset like this, or to save for, a roof when it needs to be replaced or that kind of thing. And we really get to be that for them. We get to be that voice that says, hey, let's think about 10 years from now, where you want to be, and let's set you up so that you've got a structure to manage your finances to get you there. And by doing that, our families are with us for at least 12 months in this program.
Wow.
And by doing that, we are transforming the trajectory of their family and generations to come. Mm-hmm. So we're not just impacting where they are economically now, but their kids are also learning what it means to, make financial decisions about whether you go to the movies tonight and bring the whole family out, or, the sacrifices that are made throughout the program. Kids are picking up on that too, and they're seeing what it looks like to have discipline around your finances, and that is cycle breaking. And that's what we're really proud of with our financial literacy, that families, when they get the keys to their house, they don't just have a home. They have a plan for their family, and they have a new set of discipline, and they've got the knowledge that they need, that they can pass down to their kids so that they can be economically stable from here on out.
So is that financial literacy program, you said they're with you for 12 months?
At
Is
least,
that what you said?
yes.
Is that part of what families need to complete prior to getting a home?
Correct, yes.
Tell us a little bit about how a family that, is really kind of in that situation you spoke of, needing a home, maybe never having been exposed to homeownership. What's the process, and how do they get in the program? And I'm guessing they have to graduate before they get their keys, right? Help me understand that piece.
So when a family applies, we look at three major buckets of qualifications. They need to fit our income requirements. We'll only serve up to a certain household income. And then they have to show a need for affordable housing. And what that means is that they could be cost burdened by their housing, meaning they're spending more than 30% of their income on housing expenses. It could mean that they're overcrowded, meaning maybe two siblings of the same or of different genders are sharing a room, or they're living multi-generationally and don't wish to, or they've got several roommates. We're an equal opportunity housing provider, so we serve all types of family dynamics and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So they might be living with a bunch of roommates to make ends meet, right? And so the need for affordable housing covers all of those topics, as well as substandard housing. So if we see that their house is not healthy, that would qualify them too for under the need for affordable housing. And then lastly is the willingness to partner. And that's where we look at, when we are assessing families to bring into our program, we ask, have they overcome adversity? Can they show us that they had a setback or a challenge in life and they met it face to face and they worked through it? We look for a family, folks who are willing to partner with us in telling their story. Their stories are what our community is interested in. That's why people give. That's why people volunteer.
Sure.
And so we need people who are willing to tell their story. And then, as with the willingness to partner, they have to do that financial literacy. They also have to do a certain number of sweat equity hours, which means they're volunteering alongside our volunteers on construction, in the restore, and then out in the community. And so we're building in through that program. You know, a lot of folks who come to us are already really active in their community and are already volunteering and being a part of the fabric of their neighborhood. But if they aren't, what we're building are really good neighbors, because we're not just putting folks in a home, we're putting them in a neighborhood, right? And so we're building really good community advocates and community connectors through what we call sweat equity. And so a lot of people, when they buy a home, they aren't able to say that they built that house, but our families have built their home. And that's a really cool piece of it as well.
Yes, that is cool.
Yeah. So they're
And talk about ownership, right?
right.
I mean,
Yeah, it's like I hung this siding and I, framed these walls, and so it's really cool. So they go through all of that, and then when they've completed all of these requirements, is around the time when their home is coming to completion. And so we pace it for them so that, we start building their home a little bit after they've done some sweat equity and that kind of thing. But when they close on their home, they've completed those requirements. And then they close on a mortgage that they can afford. So they are going to be paying a mortgage for, probably 30 years. And it's a mortgage that's not more than 30% of their income. And that's where Habitat comes in to bridge the gap, and that we raise the funds necessary to make the house affordable to build, and then make that mortgage affordable so that a family can access the financial products as well.
wow. I think this is fascinating. I've learned a great deal myself about Habitat and all the things that you're doing, because what lands on my mind as I'm listening to you is how you have really developed solutions for alternate means of getting the same thing done. Like you said, you meet them where they are, but you have solutions all along the way, and you have also addressed solutions before they even come along, because you're doing the fundraising to get the infrastructure ready and kind of setting the table for all of this growth that these individuals and then obviously the community can benefit from. That's interesting. Now, tell me a little bit about your team, because it seems like this is an awful lot of kind of oars in the water. Tell me a little bit about who does what and how many folks you have kind of focused on this initiative.
Yeah, so we have 5 verticals in our organization. The first vertical, in no particular order, our restore. So we have 2 stores, one in Longs and one in Socastee. Those restores, they bring in donated goods, housewares, everything from a knickknack to an appliance, anything that you would see if you look around your home. Those donated goods come in, and then we have an entire retail operation that makes sure that the goods are quality, that we're the community knows that we're out there, and we sell those goods at a discounted price to raise money for the mission. And so that is revenue stream for the organization. We keep a lot of tons. I think it was last year 30 tons out of the landfill just by repurposing donated goods. And I will shamelessly say my house is almost completely furnished and decorated by the Habitat restores.
I love that.
You can find some really good stuff.
I've been in them. You're right.
Yeah.
There's a lot of really nice stuff in there.
Yeah, and I get the luxury of walking the floor every day. So good, North Carolina made solid wood furniture, stuff that's going to last forever. So that's a great place to get some stuff. And if you're a college student, go get all of your plates and cups and all that good stuff out there for 50 cents. So that's our restore. Then we have production. Production is everything from our home building to the infrastructure work to our home repair. So we not only serve families through home ownership, but we serve current low to moderate income families who own homes who are at risk of being displaced because their home is not healthy anymore. So we do an extensive amount of critical home repair, new roofs, HVACs, new floors, that kind of thing. We do a lot of aging in place for families that are finding themselves with mobility issues or, are just worried about where could I trip in my house, or do I need handrails and that kind of thing. And so we serve the community in that way as well. So our restore is about half of our staff because it's a big operation. It's about 20 or so people. Our construction, we've got a team of about 6 or 7. And then our programs, our programs is really 3 people who are the ones who are meeting families where they are. Those are our people who are the life transformation folks. And on any given day, they're a lender or a therapist or a
whatever
or an
they
educator.
have to be.
Yeah, so they do a lot of really great work with our families. And then we got to get the word out about who we are. So we've got marketing and development and volunteer engagement, and that's 3 people that do all of that work. And then we've got our administration. So we've got to make sure with all the trucks that we have, all the facilities that we've got, all of the highly dangerous work that we do on a day-to-day basis in construction, that we've got our risk and compliance and HR and finance and all that good stuff. So that's that side of the house as well. And I think I touched on all of them.
Wow. It's a I won't say small, but it's a few people doing a lot of work and touching a lot of different folks and different projects across the community. And it feels like there's a lot of, as we talk to folks on this podcast, we call them small but mighty teams. There's a lot of organizations that are very lean but are doing great work, and they're having this ripple effect across the community. So that's how it all gets started, right? And I loved what you'd said earlier in that, nothing really truly comes together until people start talking to one another, breaking those barriers down, and begin to collaborate. So we'll encourage folks to actually get involved in all the things you're doing. And lastly, as we kind of wind things up, Meagan, I know you're a resident of downtown Myrtle Beach, so I know that coming as a coastal student kind of got in your blood and kept you in the Myrtle Beach area. I'm curious, with your history in the area, what your perspective is on the future for this area. Are things better than they were? Do you feel hopeful about the future? Tell me a little bit about what's on your mind in that regard.
Yeah. Well, I definitely wouldn't be able to stay in this work without a whole lot of hope for the future. That's kind of what we run on. I really am. I am proud and encouraged by the leadership that we have in our business community, in our government, in the nonprofit sector. When I look around at our community leaders, I am very encouraged, and I'm very hopeful for what we can do together. I really, to what you said, when we start having conversations about how can we collaborate, how can we bring people together and move forward together, I think there's a lot of potential for that. I've seen a lot of great things come to fruition in the last 4 years. I've been floored by some of the things we've been able to pull off together as a community. And I think this is, it's certainly not the beginning. This has been going, we've been working together in Horry County for a really long time. But this, I think we're only going up from here, so I'm really hopeful.
That's awesome. And that's exactly what we want to hear when we're talking about thriving at the beach, right?
That's right.
And Meagan, thank you so much for your wonderful and detailed explanation of some of the things that are touching the habitat initiatives. I think that's really helpful for what I call the average Joe, or the the individual that doesn't get a chance to really spend a lot of time and really get a good understanding. So I so appreciate your taking time to be with us today. We will provide the link to your organization in our show notes, like I mentioned, and we would love to have you come back anytime you like to kind of keep us updated and share some of the additional work streams and progress against the ones you're already working on, because I know Rome wasn't built in a day, right? It's going to take a while to get some of this stuff underway, and we'd love to have you come back and just continue to keep the hope alive and communicate what you're up to.
Thank you so much. I love talking about habitat, and I'm 100% sold out on this thing, so I will talk about it as much as you'll have me.
Well, awesome. Thanks so much, and we appreciate you. So today was a great opportunity to learn more about Habitat for Humanity. I was super excited to hear about the 3 new communities that Habitat is getting ready to launch, and I loved getting a better understanding of the process that families go through from the application all the way to the move-in on their new home. I did not know that Habitat spends 12 months essentially with these families and asks them to not only get educated in areas that are going to keep them in their homes over the long haul, but also some sweat equity goes into those families that are actually going to secure a Habitat home in the future. I think that process is obviously proven to not only be successful, but also strengthen and perhaps change the trajectory of each of those Habitat families and position them for long-term home ownership. I hope that you'll visit the Horry County Habitat for Humanity website, and when you're online, look for ways that you can support all of their aggressive initiatives. It could mean volunteering your time, it could mean a financial donation, but I think now that we know more about all of the great work that they're doing, I think it's a good time for all of us to get as involved as we're able to. But that's a wrap on this particular podcast. I will see you next time, and until then, keep thriving. Well, that wraps up our show for this week. I hope you've enjoyed the info that we've shared today. And if so, please be sure to follow the show so you don't miss any of our future updates. We also welcome any comments, shares, or reviews. But until next time, we hope you stay well and keep thriving.